Number 1. Mollie Tibbetts from Brooklyn. The disappearance of 20-year-old Mollie Tibbetts from Brooklyn, Iowa, has captivated the nation as FBI investigators, friends, and family continue their search for the woman who was reported missing last month. But she's far from the only person that people across the country are searching for. Thousands of men and women are reported missing in the United States each year. As of December 31, 2017, the most recent data available, the National Crime Information Center had 88,089 active missing person cases. That's the data the federal government has on reported cases. Some missing people are never reported to authorities, including an alarming number of Native American women. The Bureau saw more than 650,000 entries filed in 2017, though many of the missing persons were found or returned home. According to the NSIC's annual report, nearly 47% were under 21. A third of the reported missing people that year were Black, 2% were Asian, 2% were Native American, and 59% were white, which included Hispanics. For 3%, the race was unknown. Tibbetts' disappearance is the most recent case to grip the nation. The University of Iowa rising sophomore vanished from her boyfriend's house on July 18. She was watching his dogs while he was at work 100 miles away. July 16, 2018, Tibbetts, a rising sophomore at the University of Iowa, was staying with her boyfriend, Dalton Jack, for the summer in Brooklyn, Iowa, a close-knit farming community of about 1,500 people. Jack, 20, told ABC News he last saw Tibbetts on July 16. July 17, 2018. Jack traveled to the city of Dubuque, Iowa, for his work at a construction company on July 17. Tibbetts stayed at his house in Brooklyn alone and watched his dogs, he said. July 18, 2018, Jack told ABC News he chatted with Tibbetts via text messages and social media on July 18, just before she went out for an evening jog which, Jack said, was her regular routine. She goes for a run every night. She likes to go whenever the sun's not down, Jack told ABC News in a recent interview. She knows Brooklyn extremely well, better than I do, and I've lived here my entire life. Jack said he believes Tibbetts would have had both her Fitbit activity tracker and her cell phone when she went out for her jog. Tibbetts was last seen at approximately 7:30 p.m. local time that night while running along the city streets of Brooklyn. She was wearing dark-colored running shorts, a pink sports top and running shoes, according to the Iowa Department of Public Safety. July 19, 2018, Tibbetts was reported missing by her family on July 19, after she didn't show up for work. That is so out of Mollie's character. 1. Not to show up for work. 2. Not to let her employer know. And 3. Boyfriend, myself and her brother, just no one was notified that she didn't go to work. Tibbetts' mother, Laura Calderwood, told ABC News in a recent interview. July 26, 2018, police in Kearney, Missouri, responded on July 26 to an unconfirmed sighting of Tibbetts at a truck stop in the area. The location was more than 230 miles away from where she was last seen. Officers conducted a search of the area, spoke with witnesses and reviewed any potential surveillance video, according to ABC News affiliate KMBC. Meanwhile, Iowa authorities were analyzing surveillance video from businesses in Brooklyn that are along the route Tibbetts usually jogs. They were also examining data from her Fitbit, a GPS-enabled activity tracker, according to Poweshiek County Sheriff Thomas Kriegel. We do believe that there's going to be some useful information from the Fitbit data, but we are not willing to share that, Kriegel told ABC News in an interview July 26. Fitbit Incorporated, which makes the activity trackers, declined to comment at the time. Kriegel also told ABC News that Tibbetts' boyfriend and brothers are not suspects. July 27, 2018, authorities, with the help of hundreds of volunteers, scoured swaths of land in Brooklyn and surrounding Poweshiek County looking for Tibbetts in the days following her disappearance. Investigators canvassed neighborhoods and conducted dozens of interviews. They also searched a pig farm several times near Guernsey, Iowa. About 10 miles south of Brooklyn, Richard Rand, special agent in charge of the Iowa Department of Public Safety's Division of Criminal Investigation, told ABC News it's not uncommon to go back to a site and conduct additional searches as tips come in. Rand declined to reveal what clues, if any, investigators may have found at the pig farm, but he said one thing is for certain: Tibbetts isn't there. I can tell you she's not there. Aside from that, I'm not sure what I'm able to release, but she's certainly not there, Rand said in an interview July 27. July 31, 2018. Authorities held a press conference outside the Poweshiek County Sheriff's Office on July 31 to provide an update on the investigation, though they were extremely cautious about what information they released. At that point, investigators had received and followed up on more than 200 leads. Searches were conducted on the ground, from the air and with the help of canine units, authorities said. The Crime Stoppers of Central Iowa offered a $1,000 reward for information leading to an arrest in the case or the discovery of Tibbetts. The Tip Rural Electric Cooperative in Brooklyn agreed to match that reward, for a total of $2,000. August 2, 2018, Tibbetts' family held a press conference on August 2, where they said they believe she is being held captive and that the reward for her return has been increased to $172,000. We believe that Mollie is still alive, and if someone has abducted her, we plead with you to let her go, Tibbetts' mother, Calderwood, told reporters. Every day I feel Mollie's presence with me. Sometimes I just feel her sitting on my shoulder. And Mollie was an incredibly strong young woman, and I don't know that I have the strength in me, and Mollie is lending me her strength every day and every night. Tibbetts' boyfriend also had a direct message for possible kidnappers. If they're listening, I would just like them to know. Imagine if this was you, Jack said at the press conference. Imagine if this was you. Somebody had taken your Mollie. Wouldn't you want to help? Wouldn't you want her back? Just do the right thing and let her go. That day, authorities told the Associated Press that a reported sighting of Tibbetts in Missouri was proved false. August 3, 2018, authorities held a press conference outside the Poweshiek County Sheriff's Office on August 3 to provide another update on the investigation but remain tight-lipped on any clues or information they have uncovered. Kevin Winker, Director of Investigative Operations for the Iowa Department of Public Safety, acknowledged how frustrating it is for the community and Tibbetts' loved ones. We believe that it gives us the best opportunity to resolve this investigation, Winker explained at the press conference. Winker did say that Tibbetts' disappearance is being treated as a missing persons case and the investigation has not slowed. He told reporters that investigators are confident they have a solid timeline, but declined to give further details. He also declined to say whether they have identified any suspects. We continue to look at all possibilities, Winker said. I'm not in a position right now to say we have suspects. We don't have suspects, persons of interest or anything else. Number 2. The mysterious disappearance of Akia Eggleston. May 7, 2017, was supposed to be a day of great promise and celebration for Akia Eggleston, 21, and her loved ones. Family and friends gathered at Akia's baby shower at Mondawmin Mall in Baltimore, anxiously awaiting Akia's arrival. The expectant mother was 8 months pregnant with a baby boy due in June, and an active mother to her daughter, who was 2 at the time. The shower culminated a bright spot near the end of a difficult breech pregnancy, and according to her family, Akia was more than excited for a second go-round at motherhood. But the cake was never cut and the presents went untouched. Akia never showed up. Almost 16 months later, her family lives in real-life purgatory, with no leads on who or what caused her to vanish. Madame Noir spoke to Akia's parents, Sean and Angela Wilkinson, who have done everything humanly possible to connect the dots. Eggleston's case has been under the jurisdiction of the Baltimore Police Department, who, according to the Wilkinsons, has led the investigation with little transparency. Madame Noir reached out to the BPD for comment, but did not hear back by the time of publication. Despite their pain, Sean and Angela shared their thoughts on Akia, including the type of mother and daughter she was, coping with the unknown, and how the Black and Missing organization has played an integral part in their healing process. She never showed up for the baby shower, and that's when everyone knew something happened. Something was wrong, Angelique said. A lot of her friends packed up her shower and went to her home, and that's when we found out that she was not there at the house, she continued. At Akia's apartment, the family discovered several items were missing, including 2 pieces of furniture. Her debit card was also found on the ground near her home. One thing we know for sure is that she would have never left her daughter behind, Angelique said. Angelique, who calls herself Akia's bonus mother after wedding Sean 4 years ago, has been one of Akia's most vocal advocates. I'm just picking up the torch and running with it, she said. They've already been through enough by the loss of their biological mother, Angelique said. The family was dealt a difficult blow in 2012 when Latina Wilkinson, the biological mother of Akia and her 2 siblings, died from breast cancer. But for Sean, his daughter was not weighed down with her grief. She was a bright light who enjoyed dance and the arts. She was energetic, lively, she liked to sing, dance and act. As a young adult, she was very charismatic, he said. She was all about children, she loved kids, and we know that she just didn't walk away. We know that, at the time of her disappearance, Akia was 8 months pregnant and breech. According to the American Pregnancy Association, breech births occur in approximately 1 out of 25 full-term births. Due to the severity of her pregnancy, she was scheduled for a cesarean in June and was placed on bed rest. Akia's disappearance causes great discomfort to her family because she was nearly immobile near the end of her pregnancy. She was in a really bad situation. She was in a lot of pain. She could barely get around, Angelique said. Obviously we would rather see her come alive, but we also understand that the state of her medical condition, there's a larger chance that she's not alive, Sean said. Akia was last spotted on May 3 at a local bank where surveillance footage shows her making a withdrawal. Her grandmother, Ann Wilson, was the last person to talk to Akia over the phone that day. The last time Sean and Angelique heard her voice was on April 28. The case quickly transitioned from a missing persons case to a homicide investigation in June 2017. In November 2017, local officials partnered with the FBI, who offered a $25,000 reward for any information pertaining to the case. The Baltimore Police Department and the Wilkinsons have had a difficult time finding a sense of unison with one another. According to both Sean and Angelique, the relationship has become increasingly strained as the Wilkinsons feel they are the only ones in pursuit of leads in regards to their daughter. My husband and I, we pretty much have to harass them almost to follow up with us and to give us information about her, Angelique said. We don't want her to be another statistic with a serial number on a box. She's our daughter. She's loved. We want answers, the Wilkinsons said. The Baltimore NAACP chapter and the mayor's office were crucial in helping to coordinate with authorities. Sean told a recent account where the couple contacted the BPD for a whole month between June and July 2018, and finally got a meeting with authorities in late July. The meeting, including BPD's Major Christopher Jones, lead detective Terrence Patrick McClarney, Sergeant Jeffrey Beckerer, and the head of FBI in Baltimore. We're going to wait another month and then we will have to blast them again, Sean said. Several persons of interest have been questioned, including the driver of the vehicle on May 3 and the fathers of Akia's 2 children. The Wilkinsons have a strained relationship with both men. In the painful midst of Akia's disappearance, they've faced a visitation battle over their now 4-year-old granddaughter, who is currently living with a friend on her father's side. The father of Akia's son has not had contact since her disappearance, and according to the family has never shown up to a vigil or commemoration in her honor. Coupled with the strained familial ties, initially investigators hesitated to categorize her disappearance as foul play because of her age. According to the family, police initially said that because she was an adult, she might have left on her own free will, but the Wilkinsons fought to debunk that rumor, due to the family's closeness and her medical state at the time she disappeared. I don't think that they're taking this as serious as I would like them to be, Sean said. And unfortunately, a year and 16 months later, I'm pretty sure if there was evidence, it's no longer there. My wife and I are just waiting for a body to show up. We're wondering why she doesn't get the same footage as other females who have disappeared. When one of them goes missing, the world just stops, Angelique said. The them Angelique refers to are stories like Natalie Holloway, whose disappearance case was covered extensively by local and national media. Cases pertaining to black bodies are rarely given the same amount of media coverage, and families of color like the Wilkinsons are often left out of the narrative. Their stories, rarely covered with the same vigor, oftentimes focus on factors that portray victims in a negative light instead of detailing their humanity. There's also a strong sense of distrust between communities of color and law enforcement, which makes obtaining access to information and leads very difficult. But the one bright light in all of this for Akia's family has been the Black and Missing Foundation, a Washington, D.C.-based nonprofit which arms families with tools and resources. For the Wilkinsons, Black and Missing has been a lifesaver. Natalie Wilson, the organization's CEO and co-founder, spoke to Madame Noir about the relationship with the Wilkinson family and the disparities in reporting missing persons of color. Wilson, along with her sister-in-law Erica Wilson, founded the organization in 2008 for that specific reason. We are the ears to these families. We let them vent, we let them cry, we let them scream because that's their outlet, Wilson said. They become our families. We are closely involved with these families because we know their stories. What we tell family members all the time is that you know your loved one more than anyone else. Don't let law enforcement brush this case off. You need to be the missing advocate for your loved ones. It's the unknown that is so detrimental, Wilson said. Since we started the organization, there have been 2.1 million persons of color who were reported missing, and those are the ones who are reported, she said. We're so sure there are so many more who go unreported. We all have a responsibility in our community, that is law enforcement, that is the media, to bring awareness to, and to help find our missing. On September 6th, the family will celebrate Akia's 23rd birthday, but the date will also remind the family of their loss. I prepared myself for the worst a year ago, Sean said. At this point, everyone in the family just wants closure. I still have nights where I don't sleep, worried about what could be. She is our every thought, said Angelique. What happened to her? Where is she? It's almost consumed our lives. She is missing. You see it on Lifetime, Dateline, and you never think it's going to be someone in your family. Both Sean and Angelique remain committed to each other and their familial obligations as parents to their two younger children. The two also balance their search for Akia with full-time jobs. Angelique works as a program health analyst and Sean, a former United States Marine, works in IT. For now the family leans on their faith in God and on one another to cover the hole in their hearts left by Akia's absence. When she gets tired she leans on me. When I get tired she picks up the torch, Sean said about his wife Angelique, remembering that we still have two other children that we're looking after, that we still have to take time for ourselves. I also have to give this to my Lord and Savior because He can do all things. Number 3. Rita Gutierrez Garcia. Police have identified a suspect in the disappearance of Rita Gutierrez Garcia, a Colorado mother last seen outside a bar on St. Patrick's Day this year. Police identified 29-year-old Juan Jose Figueroa Jr. as a suspect as a result of testing from evidence submitted to forensic laboratories, a Thursday press release from the Longmont Police Department said. Charges have yet to be filed. Mr. Figueroa is currently not a danger to our community as he is being held in jail on an unrelated sexual assault charge with a $1 million cash-only bond, the release said. This is still a very active investigation. We are making significant progress, but we will not rest until we find Rita and this case is resolved. Longmont Police Department Deputy Chief Jeff Satcher told NBC's Denver affiliate Kuza that Figueroa was a person of interest early on and then the forensic evidence helps him call him a suspect. Kuza reports that a few days after Rita went missing, Figueroa left town for Mexico. We've actually been to the city. We've been to the place where he was living, Deputy Chief Satcher told Kuza. We've talked to people in that area and we've talked to people along the route and we have information that likely suggests that Rita was not with him when he left Colorado. Rita Gutierrez Garcia, 34, was last seen in the early morning hours of March 18, 2018 out with friends in Longmont, Colorado. Shortly after Rita's disappearance, her younger sister Jessica Romero Reyes told Dateline she knew her sister was going out that night to celebrate St. Patrick's Day, and planned to see her the next afternoon at their younger sister Nicole's baby shower. The morning of the baby shower, Jessica says their mother, Diane Romero, went to Rita's home to pick her and her sons up to go to the baby shower. Rita didn't answer her phone, but the family figured she was probably sleeping in after her night out. When Diane arrived, Rita was nowhere to be found. Rita's sons, aged 18, 12, and 9, didn't know anything was wrong until they woke up that morning and saw that their mother hadn't come home. The boys were very upset, Jessica told Dateline. Diane dropped them off at the baby shower, and then took off to find Rita's friends and ask if they knew where she was. But none of the friends had spoken to Rita since the early hours of Sunday morning, when they had all been out together. According to the witnesses' statements, they were all in a parking lot that's behind the bars in that area. Longmont Police Department Detective Cody Clark told Dateline in April, when that group of people was leaving, they said they were under the assumption Rita was going to get a ride or transportation from someone else. Detective Clark said there isn't much public transportation in that area at that time of night, and there are no records of Rita using a taxi or a ride-sharing service like Uber. Unfortunately, there isn't surveillance footage in that area, Detective Clark said. However, he said that investigators reached out to residents in the surrounding area to see if they had cameras on the outsides of their home that could have captured Rita walking away or getting into a car. While surveillance footage was submitted by some nearby residents and local businesses, Detective Clark says none of the footage has provided any insight on what happened to Rita. We've spoken with several other people from her past, as well, including former significant others, friends and other people, Detective Clark told Dateline in April, adding that authorities also spoke to Rita's current boyfriend and her ex-husband, who is the father of her 3 children. At this point, we don't have any reasons to suspect they had anything to do with Rita's disappearance, Detective Clark said. Thursday's press release says police have not received any information that has assisted in locating Rita, but the evidence thus far leads them to believe Rita is no longer alive. Due to the evidence we have at this time, Rita's disappearance is being investigated as a homicide, Longmont Police Department Detective Cody Clark told Dateline in an email Friday. Deputy Chief Satcher said the department's primary interest is getting Rita back to her family so they have the closure they deserve. There are hundreds of miles of isolated dirt roads in the surrounding area, from where Rita was last seen, the press release said, referring to the 300 block of Main Street in Longmont. If you have time when you are taking a hike or driving, please check rural roadways and secluded areas. Pay attention to your surroundings. At a press conference shortly after Rita's disappearance, her mother Diane begged for her daughter to come home. "I love you. I need you here. We just want you to come home," Diane said. "We need you. I'm supposed to be the strong one, so I'm not going to cry." The Longmont Police Department is offering a $10,000 reward for information that leads to Rita's discovery or for information that leads to arresting the suspect. Rita is described as being 5'7" tall, 140 pounds, with amber hair and brown eyes. She has several tattoos. She was last seen wearing a long-sleeved black shirt and black leggings. Number 4. Jonathan Fraser. Jonathan Fraser was 21 when he disappeared from his Hawaii home on July 30, 2016. He was last seen at his Honolulu apartment, and his car was found more than a week later on August 8, 2016, parked on a road less than a mile away. There have been no reported sightings of Fraser since his disappearance. In May, the FBI announced a $20,000 reward for information leading to the arrest of those responsible for Fraser's disappearance. Fraser's mother, Shelley Miguel, told Hawaii News Now that she suspected foul play from the start. "My son didn't just disappear. He would never. Please be strong enough to come forward to speak to FBI directly," she said. "I just want my son. I just want my son. Please." Investigators say foul play might be involved in the disappearance of Jonathan Fraser, and that they have persons of interest or possible suspects. It brings hope to his girlfriend who's still looking for answers to what happened to him. She'd at least like to be able to explain it to their son, who was born after Fraser disappeared. "We deserve to know what happened. We deserve to know where John is," said Ashley Wong, Fraser's girlfriend. She says she last saw Fraser when she left their Hawaii Kai apartment on July 30, 2016, and never saw him again. They found his car on Kuliau Road 8 days later. Wong says Fraser didn't know anybody who lives in that neighborhood, so she couldn't think of a logical reason why his car would wind up there. She says it's possible that Fraser was still feeling the effects of the car crash that happened months before he disappeared. He and his best friend were rushed to the hospital in critical condition. His friend died months later. Mentally, he didn't recover. He would go to the VIP shop every day because that's where he last saw his best friend, Wong said. Is that part of the investigation that could help with this case? Kantu asked. The FBI is not ruling anything off the table at this point. We're gonna be pursuing all logical leads, said Special Agent Arnold Lanui of the FBI. The FBI says they are not ruling out foul play and that there are persons of interest in the case. While Honolulu police normally investigates missing persons cases, Special Agent Lanui says the persons of interest could fall under FBI jurisdiction. As to why the reward is being offered now, he says the timing is right. The fact that we have at this moment chosen to give the reward is gonna be significant in us dislodging the type of facts and information that we're looking for from the public, said Lanui. We'd like an answer. We would just like a concrete answer, and that way, we can put it to rest and our family can take care of what's left of him, said Wong. Number 5. Ashley Loring. HeavyRunner. A year and 6 months after her sister disappeared, Kimberly Loring will tell Congress what went wrong in the search, where law enforcement misstepped, and why the nation needs to pay attention. The cases of missing and murdered Indigenous women has become a crisis, she'll say. Ashley HeavyRunner Loring, 20, disappeared in June 2017. Kimberly Loring has been looking for her ever since. Ashley Loring is one of an unknown number of missing Native women and girls. The app reported that no one knows how many are missing because the disappearances are sometimes unreported, aren't documented thoroughly, and aren't part of a specific government database. There's inadequate resources, outright indifference, and a confusing jurisdictional maze. What she said. Loring testifies before Congress. More, not invisible. Why are Native American women vanishing? What I really want to get out there is to spread awareness about Ashley as well as the other missing and murdered Indigenous women out there. Let them know about the mistreatment of the missing cases. It's been ridiculous, Kim Loring said. I want to tell them we will stand up for our own who is gone. As she talked to other families of missing women and girls, she heard the same stories. She'll speak for all of them. She's frustrated with the Blackfeet law enforcement and buy-in, which didn't seem to take the case seriously. She'll tell them. She'll say the FBI had to basically start from scratch when they took over the case 9 months after Ashley disappeared. This is wrong. We are important. Our girls and our people are important, and that's what I want to stress to them, she said. U.S. Sen. Steve Daines announced Monday that the U.S. Senate Committee on Indian Affairs will hear from Loring on Wednesday, December 12, at 12:30 p.m. Mountain Time. Daines and U.S. Sen. John Tester requested the hearing, titled Missing and Murdered, Confronting the Silent Crisis in Indian Country. We face tragedies from across Montana where tribal citizens, particularly women and girls, go missing without a trace, Daines said in a press release. We must do all in our power to curb the crisis of American Indians and Alaska Natives who disappear and whose cases never see justice. I'm glad to see that the committee is treating this issue with the seriousness it deserves. U.S. Senator John Tester will lead the hearing, and his office noted more than 80% of Native women have experienced violence, almost half within the last year, according to the National Institute of Justice. Wednesday's hearing aims to bring together law enforcement agencies, tribes, and survivors to gather testimony on the sources of this epidemic and how to end it. We are holding this hearing to hear from the survivors and families affected by this epidemic and grill the folks who are supposed to be ending it, Tester said. I plan on asking them the tough questions and getting some answers, because this is unacceptable. The women of the Blackfeet United Methodist Parish followed Ashley's case and shared information. They didn't know how else to help, until last week when they learned she and cousin Lissa Loring were heading to Washington, D.C. Women from the church contacted Kimberly Loring to see what they could do. Sherry Hill, the pastor's wife, said they raised about $600 locally, and then the United Methodist Conference contributed accommodations and plane tickets. Methodists also will attend the hearing in support of the Lorings. Me has been a cause of rising importance in the greater United Methodist organization, even incorporated into the recent celebration of 150 years of United Methodist Women. We thought, let's give Kim a call and see if she needs something, even a new dress. We thought since the Senate was asking her to talk, they would take care of everything. We could hear in her voice she was getting worried, Hill said. We thought we could send the word out and maybe get some funding. We thought something would be better than nothing. The Lorings had only a week to make arrangements. The church took care of everything in a day. We weren't trying to overtake this. We weren't trying to get attention to what we were doing, Hill said. We wanted to make sure Kim could get there with her cousin and to get the story out about Ashley. Lissa Loring said the family is thankful and the donation makes it possible for them to go. We didn't know how this was supposed to happen. We said, how can we go? She said. When they came it was an answer to our prayers. I'm so thankful to Creator for them coming through for us. Anyone who wishes to contribute to the women's quest to find Ashley and share her story may donate through the church at bumpmission.com. Put me in the memo line. Number 6. Jake Wilson. Of all the questions surrounding Jake Wilson's disappearance, authorities brought an answer for just one Wednesday. The remains found earlier this month belonged to the teenage boy with autism. An investigation of how the 16-year-old boy died and ended up in Wolf Creek near his Lockport City home will continue. But for Jake's father, Mike Wilson, and grandfather Bruce Wilson, the identification has brought them some resolution. They said mourning will continue. We're at peace, Bruce Wilson said Wednesday. Despite the unknowns, I have the answers I need. Surrounded by television cameras and reporters, Mike Wilson recalled how Jake and his brother would fight over the last brownie, or taco, and the time they fished together. We all know Jake's in heaven, he said, adding that he breaks down each day seeing his son's face on missing person posters. I'll see him again someday. Lockport City Police Chief Chris Brecker said Jake's remains were not found sooner, because conditions of the creek were constantly changing and there are many holes on the bottom. The creek has receded substantially since Jake disappeared, something authorities believe is what allowed recreational kayakers to make their discovery. It's a question that we ask ourselves and we rack our brains over, Brecker said. We might be able to really give you an answer, later, on why we didn't find him earlier. At a news conference Wednesday, Brecker said the cause of death had not been determined. Further analysis by a number of agencies is ongoing. Something local law enforcement hopes will help them answer how Jake died. The remains were found about 2 weeks ago. At the time, authorities could not confirm the remains were Jake's. A high school sophomore who loved the outdoors, Jake told his family he was going for a walk near the creek on April 7, but he never came home. The search for Jake gained attention across Iowa as authorities received hundreds of unique tips and a number of reported sightings in other states. Jake's remains were found downstream from where he was thought to have gone the evening he disappeared and within a mile from where searches began, Black Hawk County Sheriff Tony Thompson said. The area where the remains were found was combed by crews up to 30 times before, he said. Jake's mother, Megan Richterns-Wanger, did not attend Wednesday's news conference. Brecker said the family needed privacy. Authorities declined to comment on what remains were found. Asked how many of Jake's bones had been recovered, the sheriff said, a significant amount. Brecker could not comment whether authorities suspect foul play, but he said the public was not in danger. The sheriff declined to speculate what the state's crime lab might find while microscopically looking at Jake's remains. In a Facebook post after officials announced the discovery of the remains, Thompson said he felt as if investigators had let down Jake's family by not finding this evidence sooner. He said he knew the past 4 months had been agonizing for them. At the news conference, Thompson said detectives have taken the case personally. A lieutenant of his recently mentioned that a poison ivy rash he developed from cutting brush near the creek was starting to clear up. God, I wish we could have wrapped this up in the first 3 weeks, he said. But investigators have answered their first major question: where is Jake Wilson? Evidence led law enforcement, which consisted of 15 FBI agents as of Tuesday, to the creek throughout their investigation. Hundreds of volunteers searched for Jake in the community of about 2,200 people, at its peak, More than 800 people helped as snow fell the day after he was reported missing. Law enforcement searched a more than 9-mile radius from the center of town in the succeeding days, an area spanning about 255 square miles. Family, Jake touched so many lives. A service of remembrance for Jake has been set for October 7 at 2 p.m. at the Union High School Gymnasium. In an obituary, family members said the teenager has touched so many lives and will forever be loved. Jake is survived by more than 20 family members, including his brother and 2 stepbrothers. Family members describe Jake as a nature lover who enjoyed playing sports and performing in his school's choir. During a previous interview with the Des Moines Register, Jake's mother and stepfather said he enjoyed reading books, playing Yahtzee and walking to Tootsie's Ice Cream and more, a shop down the street from their home, and the fire station, which authorities used as headquarters for the search. Jake always wanted to be a police officer. He once visited the Benton County Jail and admired law enforcement, saying he wanted to catch the bad guys. His mother has said, as local, state and federal investigators searched for Jake, his mother in April said it was neat to see his heroes still looking for him. When he went to the ice cream shop, his family would call ahead of his arrival and send him with exact change. While family described him as outgoing, Jake's safe haven was his bedroom, where he kept his Xbox, guitar and treasures he collected outside. Jake tried playing a number of sports, but during his first game of baseball 5 years ago, the left-hander was hit in the nose on the first pitch. His mother said he won awards in Special Olympics, including a first place in long jump. More than a week after Jake was reported missing, Richards Wonger received a Facebook memory alert that reminded her of one of his milestones. A year ago, April 17th, he had just learned to ride his blue tricycle. His mother wanted him to be able to go on rides with his brothers, one of whom is paraplegic, and once he picked it up, he would travel down the trails with his grandmother, a mile ahead of her. It was the feeling of being proud of each little step he took, she previously told the Register. In lieu of flowers, the family has asked that contributions be sent to Cedar Valley Bank and Trust in LaPorte City to Megan's Wonger, according to the obituary. Number 7. Kandyce and Karmen Matos. Montgomery police issued a statement Tuesday seeking help in finding sisters Kandyce and Karmen Matos, who were last seen at home in Silver Spring, Maryland, on Saturday. The sisters, aged 11 and 16 respectively, were last seen by their parents at about 11 p.m. at their home. When their parents went to check on the girls on Sunday at 11 a.m., they were not in their bedroom. Detectives believe the sisters are together. The girls are known to frequent Westfield Wheaton Mall, the Belpre area of Montgomery County, Washington, D.C., and Prince George's County, Maryland. According to the police statement, detectives believe the sisters to be together, and while their father believes they ran away, he isn't sure why they would have left without their eyeglasses. NBC Washington reports they left with nothing. Ramon Matos, the girl's father, told the station, "They've got nothing with them. They got no money, no clothes, nothing." The father also said Karmen may have deleted her Instagram account before apparently leaving the home. Family of the sisters and authorities are concerned for their well-being, and said they've been known to frequent Wheaton Mall on Veers Mill Road, Prince George's County in Maryland. They've also frequented the Belpre area of Montgomery County in Washington, D.C. Karmen is described as being 5 feet 5 inches tall and weighing 160 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. Kandyce is described as being 5 feet 4 inches tall and weighing 137 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. Anyone with information as to the whereabouts of the girls are urged to call the Montgomery County Police Special Victims Investigation Division.